Lesson 31. Placing your trust and loyalty in love. Beloved and holy friends, as always, and though I have repeated this to you often, I say to you again and yet again, it is with joy I come forth to abide with you. For relationship is the holiest of all places, relationship between any two who choose to look upon each other, having looked within and found no lack. For those two can then look out upon one another and see only perfect innocence, only perfect peace, only perfect love. Therefore it is with joy that I join with you, for I look upon you with perfect peace and perfect love and perfect trust. My loyalty to you is unshakable. No event that occurs in the realm of your space and time can taint the loyalty which I know to the depth of truth, that is your very self. That which is unshakable, unchanging, unchangeable, and unchanged forever. For my loyalty is perfectly pure. My trust in you is unfathomable and immeasurable. How can this be so? For perhaps even now your mind says, well, yes, but last week I got a little angry with my spouse, and 3 weeks ago I forgot to pay for that candy bar I picked up at the store. Since I'm such a horrible person, your loyalty, Joshua, is misplaced. My trust in you emerges from my trust in my Father. My trust in you emerges from the perfect knowledge that you belong only to that one that I have called Abba. My trust, then, is the expression of what I have come to know as I have looked into the depth of my own being, both within my physical incarnation that became rather famous, and also since where I discovered the perfection of love that pervades all things, and can be seen beneath the surface and through the appearances that the body's eyes and the ego's thought system would show to you. What do I mean by that? As you abide in your physical world, the greatest challenge that you have moment to moment and moment to moment is to be vigilant against identifying with the perceptions which are born in birth as a result of the physical apparatus of the body itself. That is, you look out through the body. That is where your attention seems to be. Your apparatus called your eyes immediately shows you a world of objects separated by space. If you identify with that level of perception, you can only conclude that you are a separate one from another. When you see events happening, it is absolutely impossible to see the subtle interconnection of all events. You fall into the trap of forgetting that you live in the universe, and universe means simply one turning, or one song, one event occurring, like an ocean is but one event, expressing as many waves. So, too, do all events in the field of space and time, in the field of physical matter, merely emerge from the one universe. From the body's level of perception, the thinking mind, in association with the body, creates interpretations of what it believes it has seen. And now your attention, your awareness is already twice removed from reality. First, you have become hoodwinked, thinking that what the body's eyes show you is what is truly real and significant. For instance, you love someone. They are here today and tomorrow they leave. You see them pack their things and their body leaves, and your eyes show you that they are gone. Then the mind says, woe is me, I have lost my love. Neither of these is true. The soul, the level at which reality is far deeper than the level of the body, can never go anywhere. No one you have ever met or known can ever be outside of your heart through his or her own action. The body-mind, yes, can leave, but that is not what takes someone out of your heart. It can only be your decision to withdraw love. It is only the withdrawing of love that creates separation in the experience of your awareness. So you are now sitting 2 levels removed from reality. First, you have become hoodwinked, thinking that the physical eyes show you what is true. Then you draw conclusions and create interpretation of the events that the body eyes show you. This creates the emotional effect that is like a soup that runs through you and around you and will remain so until it is healed. The third level of being removed from reality is a trick of the mind, in which it insists that its interpretations are facts. It is to this level of the mind that I asked within A Course of Miracles, would you rather be happy or right? For happiness can only be the result of perfect trust, and perfect trust emerges from perfect loyalty, and perfect loyalty emerges spontaneously in the mind that is rested in surrender. We have spoken often of the keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, surrender. In allowance, you go through a period of deep undoing, in which you disconnect the wiring that has led you to insist on the rightness of the interpretation that you have created, and then link to events that the physical body-mind has perceived. So as allowance is perfected, one has come to see that their whole world, everything they have constructed, has been undone. That is, your perception of belief, your perception of feeling nature, your perception of what is has been undone. The mind is unraveled. Now the perception of the body-mind, of course, goes on. The physical eyes seem to show you that there is someone in another body over there, and they are doing what they are doing, and you are doing what you are doing. So there cannot be any connection. That level goes on as long as there is a body. However, the mind that is healing does not identify that as the primary level of reality. So as allowance surrenders the construct that has been made up in the mind and exists nowhere but in the mind, one rests in an unobstructed allowance of how the body-mind goes through its days until it returns to dust. But there is no longer a being hoodwinked, no longer being attached, no longer being swept up with that level of identification, because there is no longer a need to identify with the interpretations, and there is no longer, quite happily, any need to be right. As allowance comes to completion, something quite magical occurs. It is beyond all comprehension of the thinking mind. The ego could never comprehend this. It is as though something that was existing because it was contracted in fear dies and dissolves like the mist before a rising sun. And all that is left is a quiet spaciousness in which awareness has been purified. Events still arise and pass away. One continues to talk with their friends, perhaps as they always have. One notices the tendency in the body-mind to create interpretation, and some of them are quite necessary. That light just turned red. My interpretation is that it might be wise to stop. But there is now something that is wrapped around all of that, so that what is arising is seen as, ultimately, quite inconsequential, quite innocent and devoid of any deep value. For you will place your loyalty in what you have decided to value. And in that spaciousness, in that perfect stillness, in that deep peace, mind, or selfhood dissolves in surrender. Anyone who is awakened knows exactly what that feels like. Anyone who has begun to awaken has touched on moments of perfect surrender. For in surrender, the mind beholds that all things that are arising and passing away are perfectly harmless. They can hold no value because they abide in time. And the things of time are like the waves that arise from the ocean. Because they have a beginning, they will have an end. In their beginning, their end is certain. Only a fool would create loyalty to that which is temporary, temporal, and ultimately unfulfilling, but the wise of heart have decided to place their value on that which is eternal. And what can be eternal save God? And God is but love. Therefore, in the way of the heart and the way of transformation, and now in the way of knowing, all that we have sought to share with you has been by design, to lead you to see that love is the only thing worth valuing. Love is unconditional. Love merely loves in order to abide in its own nature. And because God is but love, as the mind disentangles itself from the perceptual level of the body-mind, from the interpretations selected and created in the mind and overlaid upon these events, and especially as it disentangles itself from the egoic need to be right about its makings, that which you are, pure intelligence, pure infinite creative possibility, shifts itself into being identified only with value in love. This is the same thing as saying, I value only God. Then the soul begins to reawaken. The soul, this drop of pure light, which is pure intelligence, begins to realize that to know God it must be God. And since God is only love, the soul desires to be only love. For in loving as God loves, God is known. As God is known, self is realized and remembered, and the dream of the dreamer is transcended. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, my trust in you is perfect, for I have come to value only God. My loyalty to you, as the offspring of my Father, stems from having received that enlightenment for myself. Having awakened from the maze, the complex web of perception in the body-mind, the interpretation that the body-mind places on events, and the ego's construct of what it feels it is right about. Because I have dissolved all of that, I abide in pure devotion only to what is truly real and perfectly unconditional, the presence of my Father, which is the same as the presence of love. Where have you placed your loyalty? Indeed, then, look well then to see what you have chosen to be loyal to. And if you have chosen to be loyal to something to the world, you have actually been using loyalty as a way to overcome fear. Think about it. I have often said that what is not love is only fear. In the state of love, there is no clinging, there is no denial. There is nothing obstructed in the nature of the body's experience. One renders unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. One sweats in the hot summer sun. One simply is where one is. But the mind, the essence of your identity, is as love. All the rest of it is superfluous. And so you find yourself in a maze of events called space and time. By this I mean you find yourself going to a job. You find yourself in a certain third-dimensional relationship. But you are not hoodwinked into thinking that this place, this context, is the all. It is only an opportunity for you to be one who loves in the midst of the context, simply for the sake of knowing love. The career or the mate or the car or the garden or the boat can come and go, for whatever is begun in time ends in time. But your delight is in loving and embracing and being the field in which these events rise and fall. If you are loyal to a person, place, or thing, look well to see. Is there underneath a fear that you have not yet been honest about? Are you being loyal in order to have this person, place, or thing approve of you and stay with you so that you get something that you want? And there is nothing wrong with that. Do not think that because you look and see, you know the bottom line is, I really like this job and the $120,000 a year that it pays me. I really like the sense of security that it gives me. That there is anything wrong. It doesn't mean you have to give it up and go live penniless on the street. What matters is that you become perfectly honest with what you are doing and withdraw the tendency of the mind to say, well, I'm really doing this career because I believe that the product that we create is making a huge impact on the planet. I believe we can really make things different. And besides, we give jobs and we give money to charity. That's why I'm here. Oh, nonsense. In the world you will do what you do because of where you place your value. This is why I've often said, if you want to know truly what you idolize, what you are committed to, what you most deeply believe, merely look at where you are, who you are with, and what you are doing with your time, and how you feel about it truthfully. Those that insist on saving up money for a rainy day are merely stating, I believe there can be a rainy day unless I do something to prevent it. Their trust has been placed in their power to manipulate and use the world to create what they perceive they must have. And it is very, very different than the trust of the one awakened to God, who knows that whatever arises and passes away in the field of space and time is inconsequential, because that mind is so identified with being the presence of love that the body-mind could contract cancer tomorrow and say, who cares? The mind that rests in freedom has learned to transfer trust and loyalty to love. That mind has come to enjoy the peace that comes only with loving. For what harm can come to the mind that simply loves, who looks upon all things and sees its perfect innocence and plays in the kingdom provided by the one's Father? The kingdom of the body-mind, the kingdom of space and time, the kingdom of the power to choose love over fear. This is why I suggest this simple thought. Suffering comes from being identified with form, whether it be the body, a belief, a career, or a context of experience of any kind. For all experience comes and goes. Liberation and deep peace come from being identified with content. By content we simply mean the matrix or the source out of which all possibilities are possible. It is like a musician who comes to appreciate the field of silence out of which notes can arise in a certain sequential order in order to create a beautiful melody. If it were not for the silence between the notes, no song could have ever touched your heart. The matrix of love, which is the presence of the Father, the pure intelligence, the field in which all things arise and pass away and never change. That field is like a canvas upon which the grand artist paints. But the master artist knows that without the canvas there is nothing, and therefore honors the blank canvas first. Limiting beliefs naturally crumble as the soul awakens. Loyalty and trust are significant things to ponder. There is a process of growth, of course, for each time you begin to see that what you have placed your trust in cannot really, truly fulfill the soul. It is as though a structure crumbles. Now, what is actually occurring? You as infinite being have merely realized that you have been hoodwinked, and you are withdrawing value from what you placed your trust in. That feels like a crumbling, and it literally is a crumbling at the subtle level of energy that constructs a perceptual belief system about the nature of experience. For instance, to give you a simple example, if one believes that they must have coffee every morning in order to get going, and then later in life, for whatever reason, they come to see that they have never needed it at all, they may go ahead and enjoy their coffee, but it will never be the same reason. That structure of belief will crumble, and they will literally see life differently. Each and every one of you can pause in this lesson right now and merely ponder what structures of belief have crumbled in your life. Has it not always led to a sense of greater expansion, deeper wisdom, a more certain knowing? In other words, life proceeds from illusion to reality. As the soul awakens, it literally feels a sense of expansion and growth. But the growth has nothing at all to do with the body getting bigger or the bank account growing or having more children. You all know that as wisdom is reawakened into mind, there is a sense of growth, and that kind of growth becomes all attractive to you. Place your trust in a love that birthed you. When you become so much a lover of the wisdom of perfect union with God, so that that is all that matters to you, you are already 90% free of illusion, and the world will never have the power to truly bind you again. Place then your trust in the love that birthed you. When I say birthed you, I am not talking about the body. I am not talking about your personal history or ego. The you that I refer to exists within and prior to all of that. It is as though your Father has created you as the powerful ocean in which you have been, knowingly or unknowingly, emanating all the waves that have become your particular experience as a soul. That is what God has created. Trust the one that created you as an infinite source of awareness that is perfectly free in every moment to decide what experience it will have. Why is this important? Your world would teach you, and the level of perception of the body-mind would say, well, I want to have an experience. Oh, I just had a thought of having an ice cream cone. Well, I've experienced driving my body to the ice cream store and eating ice cream. That event does occur. But if you look closely, you will discover that your experience is the value you place upon the event. I know that seems subtle to you, but it is very, very important. Experience actually occurs nowhere but in the field of the mind. You could just as easily go to the store and eat ice cream and have your mind on a book that you were writing, or the remembrance of a great love affair, or a great movie from the night before, and never even notice a taste of the ice cream. You get home and your wife or husband says, well, dear, did you have a good trip to the ice cream store? And you reply, oh, that's right, I did stop at the store. You know, to tell you the truth, I don't even remember what I had. So where does experience occur? It does not occur at the level of the body-mind itself. It occurs at the level of mind. And mind shapes experience according to what it chooses to value. Now, does that mean that you must drop doing anything in the world? No. An awakened being in the world simply delights and has fun, from a state of clarity of knowing that whatever they choose to do with the body-mind is merely a free choice based on what they are choosing to value in the moment. And if they own that valuation, they can totally enjoy the experience they are having. Then they have come full circle. If they want to design a website, if they want to be a banker, if they want to be a dancer, a prostitute, or a farmer, it no longer matters. For the mind that is awake, while the body lasts, merely sees experience arise and pass away. It takes total ownership and realizes that it has the power to create its experience as being delightful, fulfilling, and a blessing, regardless of what the body-mind is actually doing. There can be no difference. It does not matter if you are a teacher standing on a boat on the shores of a great lake in what you now call Israel, talking to a horde of hundreds, or perhaps seeing if you can actually make a few fish and loaves of bread feed 5,000, and then saying, oh, how about that? That was fun. There is no difference between that and driving a truck in New York City and delivering frozen fish, if the mind within the soul is taking complete ownership and delighting in the mystery of creating experience and choosing to bring enjoyment and freedom to that moment. This is why events of the world can never bind you. All suffering comes because of the interpretation you are overlaying over events. And in that very moment, you have used God's gift to you, which is the power of awareness, to create its experience. Once again, my crucifixion was my final learning lesson in the realization that I had broken the spell. I was no longer under the spell of the egoic mind or the body-mind. I merely looked upon my experience and decided to freely be in the state of love in the midst of that context. You are free to be in a state of love in the midst of any context as you watch and observe the waves of temporality come and go. As you see that happen, and as you develop that capacity within yourself through the choice of love, through the choices for forgiveness, and through the choices to be happy instead of right, to live in innocence and wonder instead of certainty and dread, and to rest in true knowledge, true knowing, rather than the relative knowledge of the world, you come to see that all that is arising and passing away can never leave you. That loss is impossible. For where the mind chooses to rest in love, all things that arise and pass away are remembered and restored and sanctified. There's perfect peace. Though a beloved friend passes away in what you call death, because you do not identify the friend with the body-mind, and because you do not then perceive that you can no longer love your friend, you just enjoy loving your friend. As you abide in love, you begin to experience a reality that nothing dies. Nothing dies. For pure intelligence can go nowhere. One of your scientists once said, I think I have figured it out. Energy is what makes everything, and it can never go anywhere. It can only change form, but the essence or the energy remains. This is not unlike a mystic or a sage or a great savior or messiah or a very ordinary everyday person waking up and saying, you know, only love is real, and in love all things exist forever. I am not separate. I am not lost. I am free. The great journey in the field of space and time is to allow that awareness to settle into your beingness, so that quality of awareness permeates and pervades the level of the egoic mind, the level of interpretation, and the level of perception of the body-mind, the apparatus of the brain and nervous system. All of that is still going on, but you begin to pervade it with the growing awareness that only love is real, that I have the power to extend forgiveness. Every time the mind trusts in the one that created it and rests in that peace, a miracle occurs. Every time that you have extended forgiveness, a miracle has occurred, for you have withdrawn valuation of an old perceptual system and chosen for reality. The enlightened sage is merely one who has cultivated the practice of training the mind to choose the reality of love under all circumstance. Through that one's many successes, they have come to know that they have chosen as true. God has been revealed. Loyalty is no longer a question. What will you choose to value? Trust and loyalty, then, must flow from the mind and its power to choose what it will value. Be you, therefore, loyal to love. Be you, therefore, loyal to your perfect union with God. Trust that one who birthed you and who has been guiding your journey home all along. For remember, I have often said that from the very moment the dream of separation began to be dreamed, only the answer was provided, called the Holy Spirit, the right-mindedness in the depth of your being that cannot be touched. Rest in the right-mindedness of choosing only love. Extend complete freedom to the waves that come and go. In this sense, the weather is a wave. Caesar is a wave. Your spouse is a wave. That is, as you would look at them as a body-mind. They are a wave. They will come and they will go. But if you abide in the field of love, you abide in timelessness and eternity. You abide as the spaciousness that embraces all things, trusts all things, and thereby transcends all things. Here, then, beloved friend, is the pure essence of loyalty and trust. If your loyalty is in anything that can crumble, you have merely not yet fully chosen to place your loyalty in that which cannot crumble. If your trust is in the requirement that individuals act and behave in a certain way, you have not yet come to trust the perfection of love that is already at work in everyone's lives, calling them to deeper levels of remembrance. See, then, the perfection of all events. For the waves that arise in the temporality called the world have no power in and of themselves. They are already held in the arms of perfectly loving God, and each event truly serves no purpose save to nudge that soul, that spark of pure awareness or intelligence, to look deeper beyond its illusion. When anyone attacks you or projects upon you, they are merely crying out in their own fear and insanity. The awakened one looks upon them with love and merely says, "Oh, is that so? Well, very well. Yes, thank you for sharing. Have a nice day," and goes on trusting and lets their life be an expression of the loyalty that they give only to the voice of the Holy One within them. Look and see where you are with trust and loyalty in your own life. Simply ask yourself, where are my idols? What am I attached to and why? Remember that those with thoughts of I and mine know not the true nature of things. When they say my car, my wife, you are not dealing with reality, for all things belong to God. There is nothing that you can possess except the reality of what you are as the thought of love and form. When you choose love, you become free. Come to see, then, that when you choose love, you become free. Who can harm you? What gain or loss can affect your peace? In each moment, as you remember love, you give love. Everywhere you go and everyone you see is touched in a quiet and secret place. They may not know why they feel attracted to being in your presence, but you will know. You are simply choosing to be, and mark my words well here, you are merely choosing to finally awaken and be God incarnate. For God is but love, and when you love, there is only God. Remember then always, beloved friends, that that which crumbles can only be form and not content. Love can never crumble, because it is the content that is the presence of God's reality. Because love is content, it is unchangeable, unchanged, and unchanging forever. Perfect freedom comes to any mind that shifts its identity from the level of the body, from the level of the interpretive mind, from the level of the egoic mind that insists its constructs are real, correct, and valuable, and becomes identified with love. Identity with what is conditional and temporal can never produce what is unconditional and eternal. The power of mind can leap from the conditioned to the unconditional through the decision to place value only on that. Well do I understand that what arises within the body-mind is a fear of survival, yet it is a useless fear, since the body-mind from the moment of its conception has been marching inexorably toward its demise. And if the body-mind itself is completely powerless, which it is, to exist as eternity, everything dependent on the body-mind must crumble with it. Everything, then, built as a house upon the foundation of your having become identified with the perceptual level of the body-mind, the interpretation of the thinking mind, and the insistence of the egoic mind on being right, are all like floors in a house built on a foundation of error and illusion. You might as well own it now. They are going to crumble. Illusions have no life. That is what makes them illusions. Only in reality is life finally found. Yes, you do feel that crumbling going on, for what crumbles in the mind sends a shockwave like a ripple down through the body-mind, through the brain, through the nervous system, and the body shakes and groans, and maybe it complains and cries, but it is nothing more than the crumbling of illusion. Eventually the body itself must crumble as an illusion, for the mind that grows in the radiance of its awakening must finally put away the entire physical dimension as a toy outgrown. The body-mind, the nervous system, can no longer contain you, for what you value is the radiance of merely being the presence of God's love. You begin to realize that you do not need a body-mind at all in order to extend love. While the body-mind lasts, love it, embrace it, allow it. Do not expect great things from it. Just use it as a temporary communication device. Since what you want is love, practice teaching only love. Teaching love is not talking about love, not about the philosophy of love, and not about the metaphysics of love. You teach love by being love in each moment, and you can only be loving by allowing yourself to feel the presence of love in and as your moment-to-moment experience. Because love is unconditional, you are free now. No set of circumstance must change before you have the power to be in love. This is the same thing as saying that God is given to you by grace in each moment, and you are asked only to open and receive. Only love is real. Only love allows you to transcend the great fear, the great suffering that comes only from a temporary mistaken identity problem, an authority problem. You think your construct of the world is your authority. You think the body-mind is who you really are. This is merely an identity problem, an authority problem. When you come to know that you are merely the expression of that one, pure spirit love, you are free from the world. Now, will the world get it? Will the world say, "Oh, I'm really glad that you are free"? Of course not, since the world is the attempt to be other than the truth of the kingdom. Therefore, when anyone projects upon you at any time, when anyone is in any way anything but loving, it can only be because they are still choosing to insist on the rightness of their construct of the sensory data that has come through their nervous system, which they have become identified with. In other words, they are living in illusion. Only love is real. If you want to be with one who is sane and awake, be only with one who chooses to teach only love. Let those be your friends. Let those be your playmates. Let those be your lovers and your spouse, for only they are capable of honoring the truth that is true always, and seeing it as the very essence of your soul. That is why there is a great attraction to anyone who is awake, for they see you. They see you to your essence because they see from their own. These two are but one and the same, for the Holy Son of God is one. Therefore choose love, and transcend the suffering that is the world. Review where you have placed your loyalty. Look well then, beloved friends, over the next 30 days. Enjoy merely looking at where you have placed your loyalty in the past and where you are placing it now. Look at the grand journey that you have made. What on earth has changed your loyalty from your teddy bear to God, if not God herself? Think not, then, that they have been apart from that one. For in each moment of your experience, even as you have believed in the illusion that the body's eyes would show you, already the one who is but love was working to dissolve your illusion, one by one, in the way unique to the dynamic of your own soul. When the ship sails into the harbor it is home. The long journey is forgotten. Perhaps there will be a few stories told in the pub as everyone has a beer, but in a day or two, a week or a month, the journey fades from awareness, and friends merely abide together, growing flowers, dancing in the evening, observing the sunset, and giving hugs and kisses. When the ship sails into the harbor, the journey is over, and there is only calm water, though around it the storm may rage. Let it. Let the storm of life rage. Merely identify with the peace beyond all understanding, the peace that comes as the mind comes to choose only to identify with love. Peace, beloved friends, is the result of the shift of identity, which emerges by placing your trust and loyalty only in that one who is only love. Allow, then, everything else to crumble. Does that mean you must give up your golden coins? Of course not, for that would be to say that the golden coins have a power to bind you. They do not. Neither the having of them or the lack, therefore, can bind you. Only your decision not to love can bind you and make you suffer. Give, then, perfect freedom to all created things, for they belong not to you, nor were they given you to give you security or to boost your ego or to make you happy. They are given for your enjoyment and for your bless. For the Christ who walks this earth knows that his or her primary purpose is to bless the Father's creations, to set all things free in the sanctity of their own deep and perfect union with God. Seek to possess nothing or no one. Seek to change nothing and no one. Seek only to love, and in love you are set free. So then, as you conclude this lesson, simply make the decision to spend 5 minutes doing nothing but loving at all you see through the body's eyes. All that you notice arising in the mind is a memory or an image of a friend, or what have you, or an event, any event that has occurred. Simply decide to love it, that's all. Then try to tell yourself that peace is a long way off. It is present in every decision for love. Therefore, indeed, with perfect trust and perfect loyalty, I look upon you and already know that you are borne on the wings of that love that carries you away to itself. In perfect trust and loyalty, I look upon the holy and only begotten child of God, and know that the dream of separation has already been corrected, and you abide in perfect safety now. For the events of space and time can never touch or alter the spirit, the pure intelligent, the infinite awareness, that is the truth of who you are. It is up to you to decide to enjoy the power of awareness by selecting only loving thoughts. Peace, beloved friends, be with you always. Amen.